Should she mute her phone?
She'll be fine. You all, we are starting live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are live on YouTube.
I want to say good evening to everyone and welcome to the Baton Rouge Sigma Alumni Chapter's Mayoral Debate. And we are here as members of Delta Sigma Theta, Baton Rouge Sigma Alumni Chapter. Please be aware that all of the information that is shared here today is not an endorsement to any candidate. We are here to make sure that our community is served in the manner in which they are supposed to get the information, and know that under the umbrella of Delta Sigma Theta, we make sure that all of the information for our community comes forth on a first-hand information. Please be aware that in March of 1913, nearly 6 weeks after its founding, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated marched in its first historical suffrage march. And over 100 plus years later, we continue to be an active public presence. I am Shai Joseph Franklin, the Baton Rouge Sigma Alumni Chapter's chapter president, and I represent over 300 women of our chapter that bring you and welcome you to this event. Know that we encourage you to get into this good trouble of making sure that your vote is counted in a manner where the information is what you need to hear. I now turn it over to Mr. Mike so that he, our partner with the NAACP, can bring you a greetings as well.
Good afternoon, and thank you, President Franklin. My name is Mike McClanahan. I want to thank all of the mayoral candidates for coming out and being a part of a special event that we are so happy to be a part of with our partners, the Delta Sigma Alumni chapter here in Baton Rouge. They have always and willingly participated with us in bringing information that will benefit our community. Thank you, ladies, again. Thanks to Todd and Maxine for agreeing to coordinate and host this event along with us. Mayor candidates, the Baton Rouge City means so much to all of us, and we wish you all well. Continue to keep the citizens and everyone first, the safety of this city first. And as you go about your business, please encourage everyone to fill out the census and to vote, because this is a democratic society, and we all win if we all participate. Thank you, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, thank you. Greetings, everyone. A few technology tidbits. This discussion is being recorded and streamed to various social media platforms. To ensure the best possible streaming experience for our audience, we please ask you to, each panelist, to please keep your video toggle on, keep your videos on for us, and your mics muted. Please unmute your mic prior to responding or providing input on a topic, and return your mic to mute at the conclusion of your statement. In the event that you experience technical difficulty during the forum, please disconnect from Zoom and rejoin as soon as possible using the same link information you used to join this meeting. At this time, we ask that you all mute yourselves if you have not done so, and have a great forum. Good night.
I think I'm up next. Good evening, I'm Judy Bethley, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to our moderators for this evening's forum. First, I'd like to begin by introducing you to Maxine Cormier. Maxine is a governmental and legislative lobbyist and business development consultant. With nearly 25 years of experience, she is well respected and influential among legislators and governmental decision makers. Cormier received a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette and a Master of Arts in Public Administration and Management from Webster College. To further her professional development, she completed additional studies at Northwestern Louisiana University and Howard University. Her keen interest in Louisiana politics began with her coordinating state and local campaigns. Along with her political experience, she gained professional experience by serving as a supervisor with the Office of Consumer Information Services, assistant to the secretary with the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources, and as executive director of the Governor's Office and Minority Business Enterprises. Cormier is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, where she was initiated in Theta Xi chapter, yay, Theta Xi, okay, at USL. She has served in numerous capacities in Delta as chapter vice president, president, regional director, and state coordinator. Her words to live by: trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Next, I would like to introduce you to Todd L. Sterling. Todd is a proven advertising, marketing, and public relations veteran. His firm, Alpha Media and Public Relations, which has been in operation since 1996, is a full-service advertising agency specializing in communications, media sales, video production, and political media consulting. Todd has a record of success with a range of clients, including several political candidates whom he helped champion to winning elections. Sterling's firm produces the Southern University football TV show and the video for the popular Dancing for Big Buddy fundraiser. He is also involved in projects such as the East Baton Rouge Parish Department of Public Works reorganization and Louisiana Fair Housing outreach. Todd earned his BA in journalism from Northwestern State University. He is a proud member of Beta Iota Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. When he is not working, Todd enjoys traveling with his family. He credits traveling as his great equalizer, explaining that it helps him to enlarge his perspective on life. Again, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Judy. Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to our mayoral, especially our mayoral candidates who have joined us tonight. We're excited to have you, and we look forward to hearing from you. Rules for tonight's forum are as follows. We'll each have 1 minute for opening statements and closing remarks, and then you also have 2 minutes to answer each question. Our timekeeper is Carla Henderson, and she'll be giving you verbal cues at 30 and 15 seconds, and then she'll hold up a sign to let you know that your time is winding up. We ask that you please adhere to the time requirements and respect one another during this forum. Now I have the pleasure of introducing our candidates for tonight who have joined us. Again, welcome and thank you for joining us. They are Mayor Sharon Weston Broome, Representative Denise Marcel, Attorney E. Eric Gayrard, businessman Jordan Piazza. And I think we're going to be joined later by Councilman Matt Watson. So thank you for joining us tonight, and we look forward to hearing from you as we get into our forum.
Good evening. And I also would like to express thank you to our mayoral candidates. According to Bill Gates, a leader, and should you be elected mayor president of East Baton Rouge Parish, you would become the leader of our parish. According to Bill Gates, a leader is honest, able to delegate, has great communication skills, confident, committed, focused, driven, possesses a positive attitude, creative, inspires others, empathetic, accountable, enthusiastic, and responsible. So we're assuming tonight you possess all of those qualities. And if you possess all of those qualities, or since you possess all of those qualities, your first question is, and I will be calling the names off by alphabetically. So Mayor Broome would be the first responder. The first question, are you ready? Why should voters support you rather than your opponent? Mayor Broome?
Well, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be with you today. I am seeking my second term as mayor president. And I believe the voters should re-elect me, first of all, because we have set out a path of transformable and transformational change at City Hall. We have coupled that transformational change with a commitment to be a more transparent government with the residents of city and our parish. And we focused our efforts on recovery from the 2016 floods, community policing in the aftermath of the shooting of Alton Sterling and 6 of our law enforcement officers, and to make efficiencies at City Hall. And so that effort allowed us to be more transparent with your tax dollars, the way they're spent. We've established open checkbook, a review of City Hall operations, which has resulted in helping us identify $7 million in savings. And it is because of that transformative and transparent leadership style, coupled with all of the characteristics that you just mentioned that Bill Gates touts for leaders, is why I am seeking a second term and why the citizens certainly should entrust me with a second term. You know, during our first term, when we talk about transformative and transformational leadership, we passed the largest infrastructure investment in the history of this parish. And so with these accomplishments, achievements, and with a vision moving forward to build on what we've already accomplished, I believe that should be the reason that I am reelected for a second term.
Thank you, Mayor Broom. Attorney E. Eric Gerard, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing.
Close enough.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
At the same question, why do you think, do you remember?
Okay, no, I assume this is the opening, so that's what I'm gonna get right into. I'm running for the mayor, and I want to be the mayor of everyone for Baton Rouge. I'm the only registered independent in the race. I'm an outsider. 4 of the other candidates are established politicians. I think that's not a good thing in today's world. I am the only essentially self-funded candidate. I owe no one anything. There's no one that has bought me or will buy me. And so my allegiance will be to one group. That'll be the citizens of Baton Rouge. I am the most successful business person in this group. I have run an 8-figure business, a $5 million payroll, 70 employees. So I am used to running a big business, because after all, what are we looking for? We're looking for someone from the Baton Rouge citizens, they're the HR department, to find a CEO to run a very big business. Because after all, Baton Rouge has now $1 billion budget. So that is what I consider a big business. So logically, who would be the best one? Who has the experience in the private sector to step up and get a promotion to be the CEO of such a large business? So my whole program is called Fuse the Rouge. And so I want everyone to go. If you want to see me expound in detail on the various issues, go to fusetherouge.com, fusetherouge.org. I'm sorry, fusetherouge.org. And you can get a detailed explanation of all of those things. I feel that I'm going over that minute, but I don't see the sign, so I'm gonna keep talking. The education, traffic, crime, business development, and community relations, quality of life are my big focal areas. And the biggest is the education, because the tentacles of education reach into everything. Every problem we have can be reached back to education. And my deal is going to be called Fund It, Don't Run It. I want government to fund education, but not run education. So remember, fusetherouge.org. Elect E. Eric Gerard, Mayor.
Thank you. Representative Denise Marcel. Representative Marcel, would you unmute yourself?
I'm sorry, I tried to. First of all, let me thank the Deltas and Mike McClanahan and everyone that's there, Todd Sterling, for hosting this event. I think it's important that the citizens get to know who they're voting for, who they're going to vote for. I'm currently a state representative where I believe that I've shown the leadership skills and I possess the characteristics that you just talked about. One of the things that I'm most proud of about myself is that I'm not owned or bought by, or can be owned or sold or bought by anyone. I really work for the people. I believe that it's time for the people to get a leader who's concerned about the flooding, who's concerned about the crime, and who's concerned about the quality of life that we should have here in Baton Rouge. I mean, I believe that there needs to be an innovative thinker as mayor president. I think you have to think out of the box. You got to be bold in your leadership, and I am bold in my leadership. I think that you don't make excuses and you don't stand back and wait on something to happen before you step into it. I believe that being a safe person is okay sometimes, but for a leader, that's a dangerous place to be in. I think that you have to be a leader that stands up for something or against it. And I would be that type of leader, but not only standing up or against something, but actually having action behind it. I've shown where I can move legislation. I can work across the party lines, whether it's Republican, Democrats, Black or white. I've worked with everyone to have certain bills passed on the city council and as a state representative. I think I possess those leadership skills that we need in the mayor's office. And I think it's time for us to move in a new direction in Baton Rouge. And that's why I'm running for mayor president of East Baton Rouge Parish.
Thank you, Representative Marcel. Businessman Jordan Piazza.
That's me. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and I appreciate y'all's time and willingness to allow us all to give a moment to introduce ourselves. A little bit about me. I'm born and raised in Baton Rouge, attended University High School, and then went on to LSU. You may have heard of Phil's Oyster Bar. It was on Government Street for 50 years, not to be confused with Phil Brady's, two separate places, but all within a block. My father, Gus, owned Phil's for 30 years before we closed, right before his passing in 2007. And then I went to college at LSU, worked for the folks that own Walk On Sports Bistro, and then went on to work for Todd Graves, who is the founder and CEO of Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. Traveled the world with Todd for throughout three and a half years as his business manager. And then at the end of 2016, my brother and I reopened Phil's Oyster Bar along with Todd. And at the beginning of this year, my brother purchased myself and Todd out of the business. And so I'm partners in another business here in Baton Rouge, Uncle Earl's Bar, that's been open since the beginning of 2019. I decided to get involved in this because I've seen that for a long time, our youth, they continue to flee the city. And that's concerning to me. I mean, I graduated with a small class of 100 individuals, and about 80 of them no longer live in this parish. What's clear to everybody is what we're doing is not working. We've got $1 billion budget in the city parish of East Baton Rouge, and we are not efficiently or effectively using those dollars. And I think what we've seen is that when we get folks that are not in the political realm for a long time, and someone that, like Mr. Gayard and myself, who has business experience, we can effectively address the issues. And so we've got to recruit aggressively some new industries. We've got to allocate better resources to the northern part of the parish that has been long neglected. And we got to do a better job of using our budget that we have. But what that takes is someone that understands and has discipline and knows how to best effectively use these funds. And I look forward to working with a new council as they turn over 5 seats to effectively do that as mayor president.
Well, thank you very much for the opening statement and a little history about yourself. I would like us to get a little more into detail. Why should the voters vote for you rather than your opponent? What are those traits that you feel that you possess that you may not see in your opponents? And I'm going to start with Attorney Gerard.
Okay. I think that I am a huge out-of-the-box thinker. I think I am very innovative. I've been that way in my law practice in my entire life. So I'm the kind of guy that can just really step up and do things that people aren't even thinking about. Because right now we've been stuck in the doldrums. I like to say that we're mired in the muck of mediocrity right now in Baton Rouge, and I want to take us to the next level. But you can't do that unless you really can step up and do things differently than we've done them for forever. I can remember when Woody Dumas was mayor here, because I'm an old guy, I'm 62, and things just haven't changed that much. And so I think we need to step up. That's why I want to do the education thing I mentioned. We need to do crime as a huge problem. I want to combine the city police and the sheriffs into a new entity, higher paid, higher trained. It's going to be called the Guardian Rouge. It won't be green or blue. It'll be red. It'll be a totally new framework of policing in this community. It'll be community policing on steroids. I want to do traffic. I want to go a whole different route there, follow up on the Move BR program and take it to the next level and make sure that we can have a traffic situation that we're proud of here in Baton Rouge, where we can actually commute and conduct business in a rational way. Business development, we have to attract more and new professional types and businesses by thinking out the box, by making sure that we are attractive as a city. We have to build a good foundation or else the businesses will
30
never
seconds.
We have to also concentrate on community relations and on quality of life. My biggest thing is let's turn City Park into Central Park, a big idea. We don't need to appease 17 golfers, but we need a Central Park like New York has. Can you imagine how that would just coalesce the parish together in one beautiful Central Park and clean those 6 lakes up, please? So anyway, so we got to think out the box. In all these issues, I think I have the massively new ideas that can take us to the next level.
Thank you very much. Representative Marcel, what are those qualities that you have that you do not see in your opponent?
Well, again, I think I mentioned some of those in my opening statements that I'm very innovative thinker, a visionary. I see blighted buildings as something we can turn into something positive in our neighborhoods instead of tearing all of those down. I believe that there's opportunity for us to have a public-private partnership with individuals to make sure that those buildings are put back into our communities for a specific use for different areas, whatever that need is in that particular area. We talk about the lack of produce and the lack of grocery stores in North Baton Rouge. I believe that I have the ability to bring that type of company into North Baton Rouge. The reason I believe that is because I think I have the stand-up qualities to go out and find it. I'm not going to wait on it to fall into my lap. I'm not going to wait on somebody else to tell me about it. I think that I show the leadership skills to go out. And, I talked, when I ran 4 years ago, I talked about going to Fresno and I talked about the crime center, the real-time crime center that they had there. And I think the mayor has modeled something similar to that. But I mean, you've got to go out and find out what other great cities are doing. And then you have to not recreate the wheel, but find out what's best for Baton Rouge. Find out what the niche is for Baton Rouge, whether, we use our resources of Southern University and LSU to do that. We need to find our niche like Austin, Texas did. And I believe I'm the leader who can do that.
Thank you. Mr. Piazza?
Yes, I think one of the things that separates me from most of my opponents is being a small business owner. I've seen what the COVID pandemic has done to the community and what it's done with governmental controls. We've got to release some of these governmental controls and shift responsibility to individuals from businesses, because businesses simply are not equipped or set up to be policing agencies. And that's a big issue. And then when you've been closed for as long as we have, and then you have these other agencies coming in daily to check to see if you're abiding by these new policies is just preposterous. Because the reality is the pandemic is now been here 6 months. So it's no longer a novel virus. They have a lot of data behind it. And so it's been around for long enough to where we know we're going to handle it. But this vaccine is simply a vaccine. And a lot of people are mixing it with a cure because it's not going to go away. So our government has to have the ability to adapt to challenges that present itself and weather any storm that may come. And I think that the administration has done a very poor job this last go around with the coronavirus, because it's negatively affected not only business owners, but the workforce. And that's what's harmful. As a small business owner, I've also been able to effectively balance a budget, which is an issue that the council and the administration seem to be having, because to have $1 billion and not be able to have a beautiful city and have the services taken care of, or for that matter, to having they ranked 20th in the nation in budget per capita, but 138th in quality of services speaks volume. It just tells everyone that we are misusing funds and there are too many hands in the pot. And that's not fair to the taxpayers. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think another thing I bring is energy. Being 32 years old is something that no one else has. And because it's going to take consistent, resilient persistence and energy and really stamina to achieve what's got to get done, because we got to completely change the trajectory we're headed on. I'm an outsider, Republican businessman, and I think that helps because, again, these folks that have been in politics so long are doing the same thing. And when we expect different results from the same people, it's mere insanity. So I'm excited to be a part of that. I think we just need a change from someone that hadn't been in the political world.
Thank you very much. Mayor Broome?
Well, what clearly distinguishes me from my opponents is that I am now serving as the mayor president, and I have been standing up to every crisis in the past 4 years when I have seen no one else in this group doing the same thing. I have demonstrated what it takes to be a CEO. First of all, to be a CEO, you have to understand the budget. The budget is not $1 billion. It's $1 billion. It's 317 million general funds, and the rest are dedicated funds. That's what being a CEO is about. And that is what being a leader is about, knowing how to lead and knowing how to be the chief executive officer. In the history of Baton Rouge, there has not been as many crises that has taken place over the past 4 years. I have led. That's what makes me different. I have led thoughtfully with wisdom. I have been fierce, and I have distinguished myself with intelligent people who surround me and who make up a very great team. I've demonstrated courage, compassion, integrity, a very important quality, as well as humility. Now let's talk about the results that make me stand out from the rest of the group here. In 2017, I implemented police reform, de-escalation, use of force policies, et cetera, that make us stand out from other cities across the country that are now talking about making those changes. I passed the largest infrastructure project in the history of Baton Rouge, Move EBR. But more than that, my pillar of making sure that there was investment in disinvested communities was not just mere talk. I made it a reality for the citizens of North Baton Rouge. I increased healthcare. I put buildings back into commerce like Howell Place. We have received a number of grants, like the Choice Neighborhood grants. We're turning communities around, like the Plank Road Corridor Project. So I have a list of achievements and accomplishments which make me stand out from my opponents.
Thank you, Mayor Broome. I will turn it over to my partner in crime for the next question. The first up on the next question will be Representative Denise Marcel.
Thank you, Maxine. Representative Marcel, what is your position about keeping Baton Rouge together for strength and growth versus splintering into another city, St. George, that will have duplicitous services?
So, first of all, let me say that, I think everyone on this call knows that we're in the middle of a decision that has to be made by a judge, which none of us can control. Don't know what that decision will be. However, what I will say is that I was always for Baton Rouge staying together and not being splintered. But at the same time, as mayor president, I know that I will have to work with St. George if it becomes its own city. I need to sit down and open up the books and let them see whatever is owed to them. I will give that to them. I need to make sure that they can stand up a city by providing the services to the citizens, because I will be the mayor president of that parish, of the entire parish, which would include them. So let me start by saying that. And certainly I think that we need to come together, sit at the table and talk about our differences, talk about what it is that we have in common, what it is we can agree upon, and certainly work out our differences, because at the end of the day, if they become a city, we will all be one, and we need to work to get along. And that's what I will be doing as mayor president. I will be sitting at the table with them, working through whether it's the legacy cost, whatever is before us. And that's one of them. In the retirement, there are several issues that have to be worked through in terms of St. George if they become a city. And we just have to go through those, the same as we did when it was central.
Thank you. Next up is Jordan Piazza.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. I want to start off that I have to say that I respectfully disagree with the mayor. I'm looking at the budget right in front of me, and the first sentence says that the proposed budget for all funds in 2020 is $1 billion. So I just want to clarify that real quick, as the people deserve to know the truth and not what they want them to know. And yes, I get that the general fund's $300 million, but the total budget that they spend is $1 billion. But on to St. George, what we haven't talked about with St. George.
Stay focused on the question, please.
Absolutely. I just want facts. I think that's important. People know facts. And I think what's important about St. George is what we don't address is that the same reason Central left, the same reason Baker left, the same reason Zachary left, we have failed to address education. Yes, the mayor's office is not directly over education. I totally understand that. But the mayor has a duty as the elected official to ensure they have regular meetings, attend the school board meetings. And if by God, do what some other cities and states have done and have the city and council take over the school board, take over the school system from the school board and then impose more of a charter system that we see is working in other cities and states. Because we know one thing, our school system is failing. And all the leaders want to do now is point fingers. We have to stop pointing fingers. And so I say that because that's why St. George has left. And it's a bad notion at any point. Well, something we all, Republican and Democrat, hold sacred in the United States of America is the vote. Because it's something that we're given as Americans that others don't get the right to. And so we hold sacred to when people vote. And people voted. And the law didn't state that the whole parish had to vote. It stated that the folks in that area did. And while the mayor talks about they don't have a plan, that could be accurate. However, we should not sue our own constituents. I think that's a very bad method that you want to personally sue. It's okay to disagree. Disagreement is healthy, but it's not okay to sue people because they did what they were legally told to do, and a judge has not yet rendered that. And I think we have to work with the folks in St. George because at the end of the day, they're in our parish. And I really think that St. George is actually going to bring a lot of revitalization. One thing in summary that they don't talk about is we talk about what funding we will lack if St. George occurs. We don't talk about how much specifically St. George costs to maintain, which would no longer occur if they become their own city. And so we have to have the data, but we got to work with them because they are still residents in this parish.
Thank you very much. Mayor Broom.
First and foremost, let me say that I did not support when I ran for office 4 years ago, any type of separation and creation of a breakaway city, which is known by many as part of the cityhood movement. And I met with the organizers of the St. George breakaway effort early on in my administration. After the vote took place, I met with them again and I asked them to provide me a firm plan outlining what services they will provide and which ones they intend for the city parish to continue providing. That did not happen. Well, for those of you all who know the legislative process, the court challenge that we are now involved in is not suing the citizens. The court challenge is prescribed by revised statute. It is in state law, and it requires that organizers have to put forward plans and they have to prove their ability to pay for such services. And so should the organizers prevail in the suit, then we will finally have a firm plan to discuss moving forward.
Thank you, Mayor Broom. Attorney Gerard.
Okay, I am against the St. George movement. if you look at my whole slogan, it's called Fuse the Rouge. I think we need to be coming together as a parish, not separating ourselves out. FuseTheRouge.org if you want to see more details. I live in St. George, actually. I don't even know what St. George is or who St. George was. I think he was a dragon slayer, some kind of a knight. So I don't consider myself, if I go visit somewhere else, I don't say I'm from St. George. I say I'm from Baton Rouge. I'm a Baton Rouge guy. I've been a Baton Rouge guy my entire life, and I want to stay together. And I think Baton Rouge will win. I'm the only lawyer in the group, and from my legal perspective, I think the way they went about getting this new city was improper. It was gerrymandered improperly. What they did after their first failed attempt, they went back in and drew boundary lines that literally X'd out entire portions of the city to where they knew that Black voters would not be voting. And so they skewed the vote. They skewed the vote, and I think that is an improper way to pursue what normally is a legal process. And I think because of that, it's going to be shot down by the courts. But it is correct that education started this whole thing. I agree philosophically with a lot of what the St. George folks are saying. I just wish they would have come to the table and the city would have come to the table and worked it out. I think we should have expanded the city boundaries earlier on, actually. Be like Jacksonville. They expanded to cover their whole county. But it is the education that is the key. And so if you can fix that, I think you can bring those folks back into the fold and maybe convince them to hold off on pursuing their plans. Fund it, don't run it. Every child will get a $8,000 stipend, they and their parents, to spend where they want. We don't need the government even running charter schools. This will be the free market, free enterprise system, giving everybody a choice of school. And it's best going to help the minority kids. It's going to help the middle class. It'll help everyone.
Time.
Thank you very much. Of course, you know, and you're hearing about it and you're reading about it across the country. COVID has brought it out even more. Access to mental health has been a problem, not only in the country, but in our community. What, if any, are your plans to address that issue? And Mr. Piazza, you start off next.
Thank you. Well, you know, definitely mental health is something we've got to address. And I think it's important with, like you said, with the COVID crisis and the nature that, you know, people being home, and obviously people going stir crazy. So it's important that we have resource centers and such that when people are in need of help, they can find it. We also got to ensure whenever we have our policing and training that we incorporate some new tactics on how to properly deal with these folks, so that when law enforcement or first responders are responding to an incident, if in any type of incident, not to be violent, just anything, and they come on people, you just never know what type of frame of mind they're in or what's going on. And so we have to be cognizant of that and have better training in our departments citywide to ensure that we're properly handling these folks and that we're equipped to do so. And that takes incorporating some of these professionals from the mental health industry into our departments. You know, I don't think closing businesses helps with mental health. I don't think regulations, that some of the regulations we have are very strenuous, because what it's caused is it makes people struggle to survive, and people are literally fighting for their lives right now, and not because they can't go to bars or they can't go to this, that. It's just the fact that there's not enough business out there and work to be had, because there are so many restrictions that it becomes difficult for businesses to even want to operate, because they can only make so little money. It doesn't become worth anyone's time. So I think, you know, part of this is we got to figure out when we have great, you know, disasters that come about, because there will always be something that's going to happen, whether it's a flood or pandemic, natural disaster. There's always going to be something. We have to keep our economy open, because our people have to work, they have to make a living, and it's good for mental health for them to be able to support themselves. Otherwise, we're not going to be effectively controlling these type of issues.
Thank you very much. Mayor Broome?
Well, certainly COVID-19 has brought a lot of health disparity issues to the forefront. And one of those issues certainly surrounds behavioral health, which includes, of course, mental health. I have established, and we are moving forward with a behavioral health task force where we have brought together the professionals in our community, the organizations, the people who are doing a lot of the groundwork to come up with a strategy as we move into the next 4 years. But in addition to that, the good news is that I was able to work with some other stakeholders, and we passed the Bridge Center initiative, which will be a mental health stabilization center. I had the opportunity to do a tour of the Bridge Center recently. It is going to open in December, I'm told. So that will certainly be an effective tool in our toolkit to address mental health. But beyond that, I think it's important that we integrate all of our community stakeholders around elevating awareness when it comes to mental health. That means that our faith-based communities have to be involved in the conversation and in the strategic planning. That means our business community. That means our nonprofits. It means organizations such as Delta Sigma Theta. And so everyone has to be a part of this conversation in carving a path forward. But I am glad that we have as a foundation to build on the mayor's behavioral health task force and the Bridge Center.
Thank you, Attorney Gerard. It seems like the time moves fast, and I keep having to come back to you and wondering if I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Call me E if you would like. That's fine. Okay. I think this is a great question for a very specific reason. I really haven't heard this subject come up in the many other forums we've had, but it is good because there's and this kind of goes to one of the earlier questions too. Mental health is an important issue, but it helps us peer into the minds of the people running as to what they think about some subjects that aren't normally discussed. Because there's three things that you really need to look at in all of us as you choose a mayor. How they stand on the issues, and of course we're all well rehearsed on these same issues. What's the background, and then what is your philosophy? So how do you tackle issues that pop up on you, like a COVID or like a Elvin Sterling problem, or anything that you're not ready for? And so I want to know what everybody's philosophy is, generally speaking. Mine, I'll tell you real quick. I believe that government should be smaller and less. Government should be more efficient. Government should follow a budget. Government should follow the Constitution, and always maximize individual liberty and freedom under an umbrella of common sense and America first. That's kind of my philosophy. And so out of that, you can see how I would approach different subject matters. Let's talk about mental health more specifically. That is a huge problem because it affects the homeless population, probably the most stark thing that we see. But it's all over, and the COVID has affected things terribly. I think government has totally misapplied its power in how it has treated the COVID crisis. I think it has caused
30 seconds
of mental health problems within our society. But I think my education program, when we have all these new schools and educational opportunities just descending upon East Baton Rouge Parish from around the country, once you privatize everything, there will be a lot of mental health aspects to that. And then the Guardian Rouge, when they're better trained and more and an elite force, they can see and deal with those kind of problems in the field also, and shepherd them over to the appropriate governmental facilities that can deal with that.
Thank you very much. Representative Marcel?
Will you do me a favor and repeat the question, because I'm having difficulties hearing you guys?
Okay, the question really is, as you may be aware, access to mental health has been a problem not only in the country, but in our community. What, if any, is your plan to address the issue?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely mental health has been an issue. One of the components that I would like to add to the police department is a component for mental health. So when the police go out to address situations, there has to be a specific officers who are trained in that area of dealing with mental health people to talk to them and to know, if you know your community, it's almost the same people in my community that we know that suffer from mental health issues that are either found in the street, undressed or what have you. And so we would know those individuals, know how to get them some help. And the mayor talks about the Bridge Center, but I mean, they started working on that when I was on the Metro Council, and I certainly support that effort. And that will definitely be a component that's going to help us. One of the things that hurt us was when Earl K. Long closed down and people weren't able to get their medication anymore. And so whenever we can increase accessibility for mental health or any type of healthcare services, that's absolutely excellent for our community. COVID has put this thing into another perspective where you're already locked in and then you have mental health issues. That's a real problem. So I would address it by one, putting somebody in the police department to identify that, certainly working with the Bridge Center, working with mental health and nonprofit organizations in order to identify the services and the wraparound services for people with mental health. It can't just be that you get them on the meds. You have to have the wraparound services. Many times they are homeless. They don't have food. They don't have identification. I know there's a program now where they're putting them in a hotel. The staff there called me to help me to get them some identification. And that seems so simple to some of us, but it's not for a lot of the people that end up homeless or that suffer with mental illnesses, or they have both problems.
Thank you. Mr. Piazza?
I'd already answered this question.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's
okay.
age.
I can answer again. I don't think you do.
It's all about age. It's all about age. I am so sorry.
No problem.
I'm turning this over to my partner in crime, Todd.
Thank you, Maxine. Technology was trying to knock me out, logged out and logged back in. So the next question for everyone is: the relationship between the police and the community is at an all-time low in this country. The city of Baton Rouge has not been immune. What, if any, is your plan to foster better relationships between the police and the community? And we'll start with you, Mr. Piazza.
I'm sorry, could you, the last question again, please?
Sure. The relationship between the police and the community is at an all-time low in this country.
Right.
The city of Baton Rouge has not been immune. What, if any, is your plan to foster better relationships between the police and the community?
Well, I think, right now what's happening with the police department is that they are responding to a lot of crime. Obviously, crime has been on the rise. We know that we've had over 100 homicides in the parish. We've had over 200 non-fatal shootings. And so the reason I say that that's important to know is because I don't think we have enough officers, patrol officers on the street. When you're looking at the crime statistics that the FBI puts out every year after compiling all the data, there's other similar sized cities like Richmond, Virginia, and Birmingham, Alabama, that are similar in population to the city of Baton Rouge and have more patrol officers and less crime. And so that's where I'm not saying we need more officers just to say. I'm saying it's statistically proven that it helps combat crime. And why that's important is because we need more patrol officers on the streets so that we can have those folks in the community. And they're not just coming out when there's an emergency. They're coming out regularly and they're become members of this community. And so the folks that live in the area know who's patrolling their area. They know them by name and they see them often, not just at times of alarm. And so that's what's happened right now with the short staff, is that we are so short staffed in such a bad degree that folks are just reacting and they're not being proactive, and they're trying to put out fires instead of preventing fires. And so we've got to have more officers on the ground. We've got to get our police officers a raise. They haven't gotten a raise in 13 years in Baton Rouge. That is alarming when you talk about the statistics nationally of policing not relationships not being good. These folks have to work extra duty and they have to work overtime or off duty rather. And the problem with that is that it creates an environment where these folks aren't getting enough rest and they're not getting adequate rest to ensure that when they are dealing with these issues that they're in the right mindset. So I think to ensure that we have to become more community policing, but we'll never get there if we don't put more patrol officers on the street and we don't pay these people, because when you pay, you're able to recruit better quality individuals, and that's important, and just like it is with any industry. So it's definitely an issue we've got to address, but it starts with having the manpower to do so.
Thank you. Mayor Broom, same question. The relationship between the police and the community is at an all-time low in this country. The city of Baton Rouge has not been immune. What, if any, is your plan to foster better relationships between the police and the community?
Well, Todd, I have to start with sharing what we have done in the past 4 years to close that gap, because I have to tell you, that's been a top priority for me as mayor president. It had to be, because we came in after some very traumatic times in 2016, as I shared earlier, the killing of Alton Sterling, the killing of the police officers. And so when I came into office, we implemented policies that were transformative. We started working on making our community policing effort a more robust community policing effort. And I will tell you, prior to COVID-19, our community policing department had hundreds of community engagements that they were indeed connecting with the citizens in our community. And so where do we go from here is the question. Well, we build on what we've already started. We certainly want to continue to engage organizations like 100 Black Men and others who have been part of one of the grants with the Baton Rouge Police Department. And that has been a significant effort and model that shows how closing the gap between police officers and the citizens can occur. Not only are young men a part of that, but their parents are a part of that as well. And that was part of a collective healing grant. We're about to embark on another grant that will involve our police officers and the citizens in the community working hand in hand to interrupt violence. But it's just like anything else in life. You have to build relationships, and building relationships takes intentionality. And it also means that as mayor president, I have to continue to implement reforms that lift up and empower our police department as they do their jobs so they become more effective.
Thank you. Representative Marcel, the same question. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, I heard it that time.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Let me start out by saying, yes, there were some rough times in 2016. In fact, the Alton Sterling killing happened in my district, and I was on the front line. I was on the front line for weeks at hand. I was able to keep the community from setting our city on fire during that period. I think I've shown that leadership during one of the roughest times we've ever seen in the city. I know that Todd, you came out there. I saw you a couple of times, but let me just say that one of the things we have to do in order to transform our communities is have a relationship between the Baton Rouge City Police and our residents. And we have to formulate that relationship by being intentional in terms of putting them together with a true community policing, where you're getting out of your vehicles and you're touching people. You're not just coming through certain neighborhoods. I got a call yesterday on Council on Aging show, and they asked me why when they come through 7805, they're always just giving us tickets. And so I want officers to get out of their vehicles and interact and know the community. And I think that's what's intentional about when you start talking about that. And certainly I cannot leave out the fact that I sponsored in 2015 the legislation before all of this police reform became popular. I sponsored the body camera law, and guess what? It passed, and guess what? We fought in the legislature for de-escalation. The policies that they're talking about, they implemented. That's because we changed the law on the state level. And so I was a part of that. I will continue to be a part of that, fostering those relationships between the community and the police.
Thank you. Mr. Piazza, the question was, the relationship between the police and the community is at an all-time low in this country. The city of Baton Rouge has not been immune. What, if any, is your plan to foster better relationships between the police and the community?
thought I answered it again, but I can do it again if you'd like.
Oh, I'm sorry. We started with
I
you.
went first. Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go. Max, next question.
But by the way, I like your background.
I think they
Thank
were
you.
leaving me out of that one.
Yes, Attorney Gerard, did I hear you on that question?
No, so I'd like one shot, and so Jordan doesn't get two shots. I want one.
Sorry about that, E.R. Gerard.
No,
Would you like me to repeat it?
Nope, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is fusetherouge.org. I mean, you go to that and you'll see a much longer explanation of this whole subject matter, because this is one of the prime areas that I'm interested in. I want to combine the city police and the sheriff into one new elite crime fighting entity called the Guardian Rouge. No more green, no more blue. It's going to be red, or maybe a hip maroon color. We can have red uniforms, red cars. I don't know if Chief Paul, how good he looks in red, but we'll see. So it's going to be a better trained group. It's going to be a better educated group, a better paid force. I want to give bonuses for the Guardian Rouge to live within the parish, and actually super bonuses to live within some of the worst neighborhoods, because I want that community policing on steroids, as I call it. I want them to get out and fully integrated into the community. I want them out of their cars. I want them on bikes, on horses, on foot. I want to see the 21st century version of the cop on the beat, like you used to see in the old movies of the Irish cop in New York City, Officer O'Malley. Everyone knew Officer O'Malley. I want everybody to know a Guardian Rouge member. I want them to come to see the Guardian Rouge as what that name entails. Guardians, not just police, not just cops, but guardians. And that has a special symbolism to it. I want to get them away from traffic. I want to have a dedicated traffic patrol so your elite crime fighters aren't writing up a fender bender at the corner of Corsey and Jones Creek. I want them fighting the murderers and the rapists and the people who are doing terrible things to our community. So there's all kind of things that we can do with that. So, but the most important thing is that people are going to be proud of this. And this is going to be something that people will emulate from around the country. Little kids will be proud that their parents are members of the Guardian Rouge. So if we can think out the box, once again, out the box, and come up with a whole new development for policing, for crime fighting, and we'll call it the Guardian Rouge.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our last question, it's a big one. It's really big. Put your thinking cap on. Mayor Broom, we're going to start with you. What do you feel is Baton Rouge's greatest infrastructure challenge?
Well, I believe Baton Rouge's greatest infrastructure challenge is being solved through our Move EBR program, the largest infrastructure program in the history of Baton Rouge, where we have 70 projects that will transform our roads. We have light synchronization, but even beyond that, when we talk about Move EBR as one of the largest infrastructure projects in the history of Baton Rouge, I think we also have to look at drainage and infrastructure surrounding drainage. That's why the programs that we have established, specifically our stormwater master plan, where we are collecting data and surveying the city parish's expansive stormwater system, which is also something historic. It's going to transform our water management that impacts infrastructure in our city as a whole, as well as our 5 tributary projects, which will certainly impact our infrastructure and are part of our infrastructure, actually. The 5 tributary projects, $255 million. And these projects will greatly reduce flood risk potential for many residents. So those are the items that I would describe as we talk about infrastructure in Baton Rouge and East Baton Rouge Parish.
Thank you. Eric, since we're on first name basis now, good next.
So, thank you. And again, I ask people, and my competitors here hate to hear this, but fusetherouge.org. and you'll see my entire platform. Yeah, infrastructure it's a big need in this parish. Downtown needs to be redeveloped even more. I think we need a focal point down there. We need like a minor league baseball team or a big aquarium or something to help spur that redevelopment. The library's just been built, but I think that was a waste. We were in there last night. It's a beautiful building, but I would have given every kid in the parish a computer and internet access and saved a lot of money, and we could change that into a hotel. That'd be a beautiful hotel that the city could own and increase and have incurring revenue. We got to think out of the box. And with the drainage, that's a horrible problem. It's being dealt with a bit. I would enhance that pumping, the pumping priority, because we have the Mississippi River, which is underutilized as far as a saturated parish and surrounding parishes. Once you have all that water coming in with rains or storms, there's nowhere for it to go, no matter what you do. And the Mississippi River is the most logical place to pump all that water to. Traffic, move EBR is good. It has to be enhanced. There's 1,000 points of fright, I call, that aren't going to be addressed in that program that we have to, and we have to make a decision. That new bridge, that's infrastructure on steroids there. We got to get that new bridge. But the biggest thing is North Baton Rouge. And the way to develop that is through our funded, don't run it, the education revamp, where you get government out of the business of running schools and just in funding schools. Every child gets $8,000, and let the free market, let capitalism reign free. Bring a of new businesses, of new ideas, and that will redevelop these downtrodden areas. There'll be new schools, there'll be new spin-off businesses, there'll be things we can't even imagine with this whole influx of talent and young professionals and new educational models into our parish. So there's all sorts of things that we can pursue. And the biggest thing, I still want to go with that Central Park. Get rid of that City Park golf course and give us a Central Park in the middle of the city. That'd be a beautiful infrastructure program that we could use and everybody would enjoy.
Thank you. Appreciate the answer. I want to thank all of you for answering our questions this evening. You have obviously had a chance to put some thought into these issues, and of course, we want to wish you the best in your campaign. With that said, we're going to give everybody an opportunity to have a closing remark. 1 minute is a time limit, and looks like Representative
Todd, excuse me, Denise and I didn't get a chance to answer that question.
Oh, my bad.
So Denise has. I'll let.
I'm rushing you along.
It's okay. Me. Yeah, I'll let Denise. I'll let you go first.
Well, I was just going to do that, and you allowing me to be a part of this. But let me just say, for infrastructure, I believe that flooding is on everyone's mind, and certainly one of the focus would be of my administration of correcting those issues, whether that's preventive maintenance. And I think that has a lot to do with our flooding issues here. And certainly the bridge and the lack of investment in North Baton Rouge. I think those are the three primary things that I would focus on in terms of infrastructure. And when you start talking about infrastructure, you cannot forget transportation. And so the lack of transportation from North Baton Rouge into the inner city, I would certainly create a bus rapid transit. And I think you're pretty familiar with it. We've had it for 10 years, and maybe we should run it from LSU to downtown to Florida. We should give incentives for people to carpool. And I think that will alleviate some of our traffic congestion problems in Baton Rouge. So Mayor, write that down.
Thank you.
All right, and I'll keep it short and sweet. While I like the Move BR program has got a lot of projects, as the mayor has stated. My concern with it, I think, as we all should have as taxpayers, is that we had to increase our taxes in order to fund that, and that shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't have to go increase taxes every time we need to get something done in the parish, because we need to have practices and maintenance plans that are better equipped to handle this without having to do that. We have to build a bridge. We can't wait on the state. The state already said it'd be at least 7 years. I'm telling you, folks, it's going to help all ports of the parish North Baton Rouge particularly, we've got to build a bridge. And we also have to build a loop. You see Lake Charles, you see Birmingham, you see Shreveport, they all have loops. But there's a way to do it without having to pay for it ourselves. We don't need more taxes. We need more taxpayers. So we do that through tolling. You see it in Mississippi, Texas, Florida, Alabama. Most of us travel in those areas because they're neighboring states. But when we do that, we see that, we're paying for that. And this is going to be for the folks that are using our highways to get across the country. They're going to pay for that. But we've got to do it with a private partnership, and we got to start doing it quickly. As all other candidates said, we have to address drainage. We can't just wait till election time to start cleaning out ditches and cleaning up canals. It flooded in July with just a couple inches of rain. That is unacceptable. And our residents and our taxpayers that work hard deserve more from government. And so we got to put a better and stronger preventative maintenance program together that addresses these issues proactively instead of reactively. And we got to also work to let other folks pay for the infrastructure improvements that we need and not have to rely on going back to our taxpayers and asking to increase taxes in order to do that. So it's very important that we get that bridge built, our drainage fixed, and our loop built.
Thank you, Jordan. All right. Looks like I jumped the gun trying to get you guys to get ready to give your closing statements. And now is the time that you have 1 minute to give your closing statement this evening to all of our viewers out in the internet land. We're going to start with Mayor Broom.
Thank you very much to Delta Sigma Theta for this opportunity tonight. As your mayor president, I have adopted the theme of transformative leadership in trying times. I have responded to the challenges that we've had in front of us without losing sight of the vision that I cast in our historic campaign in 2016, where many of you walked with me. That keen focus on our vision has produced a number of accomplishments, including economic development wins in North Baton Rouge, equity and inclusion initiatives. And so I stand here 4 years later to say that the seeds that we have planted to transform this parish will certainly come up with great fruit as we go into the next 4 years. Our work, our strategic vision won't last for just a moment, but this is going to last far beyond any of us. And it's this leadership that will continue to respond to the needs of the community in an effective manner. I'm asking you to continue to move with me, move into a bright future as we continue to keep Baton Rouge moving 4 years forward. Thank you.
Mr. Gerard.
I appreciate the civil tone this race has had so far, but nevertheless, I do think it's a problem of leadership that we have. I am an out-of-the-box thinker. FuseTheRouge.org, you'll see that. I have innovative solutions, education, fund it, don't run it, $8,000 per kid. Let the freedom reign. Economic stimulus arising from that. The Guardian Rouge, the new elite police force. We're going to have traffic solutions for the next century. We're going to have world-class business development under my ideas. And we're also going to have quality of life and community relations enhanced through a lot of different programs. I want to be the fitness mayor, and I also want that Central Park made out of City Park. So again, go to FuseTheRouge.org, Eric Gaylord, I want to be your next mayor. I have a lot of solutions, and Baton Rouge has a lot of problems that need to be cleaned up. But folks, this broom don't sweep.
Thank you. Representative Marcel.
Thank you all. Thank you for putting up with me. This is the first Zoom meeting that I've had where I've I have a community event going on at the same time. So people are knocking on my door wondering why I'm in my vehicle because I already had planned this event. So I have people lined up to get food while I'm trying to talk to you guys, and they want to take pictures. So thank you guys for putting up with me with my t-shirt on tonight. So let me thank Delta Sigma Theta. Let me thank NAACP with Mike McClanahan and everyone that's on this call. And thank everyone for offering themselves for service to service this community. I've continued to serve. I served before I was elected to city council, and that's how I ended up in that seat. I served on the city council. I served in a state representative office. I continue to serve. I just want to continue to serve as your mayor president. I want to make Baton Rouge better for everyone. And I ask you guys, we lost connection for a moment. And I ask you guys to go to my page, Marcel for Mayor, and like it and share it and vote. See Denise Marcel so that we can make Baton Rouge better together. And that's number 90 on your ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Piazza?
Yeah, thank you. In closing, I'd like to, thank you all for the opportunity to be here tonight. It's always great to get in front of people, especially during these challenging times when it's tough to get to do that. So thanks for having me, and it's an honor to have been here. I'll say that I think one thing we've seen across the nation is that, it's time for a new generation of leaders. It's time for outsiders to get involved that can really make a difference, because so much has changed over the last few decades. And one thing I pride myself on is have not been a career politician, and I never would be if I were elected, because I don't think when people stay in the same position for too long that they can be real effective. And so I think it's important for us to reopen our economy safely, because we've seen worldwide we can do so while protecting our vulnerable and our elderly. We've got to fund our police properly and protect our citizens, because public safety is so important. It's the duty of the mayor, president, and the council to protect our citizens. And we've got to give school choice to our parents. We've got to, because our school was failing, we shouldn't restrict our youth and our kids into schools that are failing because they live in a certain area. That's just not fair. So I'm excited to be a part of this discussion, and I'm glad and look forward to the election coming, and I hope you consider voting for me on November 3rd or early election that starts this Friday.
We appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Also, thank you to the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta and the NAACP for having the one and only Miss Maxine Cormier and myself host the event tonight. We hope that some people learn some things about the mayoral candidates. And of course, we fully expect you to vote on either early voting on November 3rd. And with that, we're going to turn it back over to the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta.
Good evening, all. I want to thank you, Todd and Maxine, for serving as moderators for our chapter tonight. I want to also say that the time with all of you tonight has been well spent. We thank you, mayoral candidates, for your stepping up and providing the community with information they need to make an informed decision about who's the best candidate to lead the city, the East Baton Rouge Parish of Baton Rouge. I want to also thank our partner, the NAACP, Mr. McClanahan, for your support and for recognizing the work that we as civic leaders in Baton Rouge do. To our viewers, I want to recognize you for staying with us tonight and listening to the candidates as they share their political platforms with you. It's the information that they share that you will need to make an informed decision when you go vote. Remember, this Friday, October 16th, is the beginning of early voting. Don't just go vote, be a voter. Be a voter and recognize that your vote is your voice. Thanks again to all of the mayoral candidates. I turn it over now to Attorney Tracy Woods.
Good evening, everyone. This has been a great night. I appreciate your attendance. I just want to leave you with a quote that I found from John Lewis that I find to be very pertinent for this time of this period in American history. It says, "Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not a struggle of a day. It's not a struggle of a week. It's not a struggle of a month or a year. It is a struggle of a lifetime. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in some good trouble, actually necessary trouble. So I encourage all of our viewers, as well as all of the candidates, let's go out and make some noise and get in some good trouble. Cast your vote on November 3rd, 2020, and I wish all the candidates the best of luck. Thank you.
At this time, we'll have Mr. Mike to come on and give us some closing remarks.
Again, I thoroughly enjoyed this candidates forum. It was informative. I got the opportunity to see the inside what Baton Rouge would look like in the next 4 years from a diverse group of persons. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of this. I like to thank the Deltas for doing another knockout job, a wonderful job, put on a wonderful forum. I felt like I was I cheated you all because I did very little, and you all did a great job. To all the ladies that participated, and I'm excited about this election season. Thanks to you all that have put yourselves out for community service, for as public servants. We will have a good turnout, and we will see this Baton Rouge, the best Baton Rouge that it could ever be. Thank you all. Congratulations, and don't forget, be safe when you go out shaking hands. Wear your mask, social distance, and be safe. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. And as I bring this evening to a close, I want to say again, as everyone has said, thank you to the candidates for sharing this evening with us, to the moderators for being able to move this particular situation along. And we thank you for that. Thank you for our tech team who has kept us up and going and making sure that our viewers are able to see and hear clearly. Thank you to the chairs of these committees that have put together and bringing together everyone that was supposed to be here this evening. Also, I want to thank Mr. McCallahan. You know, you said that we have to be together, and you're looking forward to the collaborations that we have, the collaborations and the great ideas that have been presented here. I hope they don't fall by the wayside, because there were a lot of good details that were shared here this evening. I also want to just, last but not least, thank the community for being able to tune in and get this valuable information so that you can go out and make a very informed decision in the days to come. Now, as we bring this to a close, we know that you have to make some very, very important decisions. Make them with the information in which you have been given. Also know that we will have 2 more events on next week that will be a collaboration with Southern University Law Center. And it's a panelist of individuals that are very bright and informative. So inform others, look for our Facebook page information and other information to come. I'll leave you with a quote. The most important office, and the one which all of us can and should fill, is that of private citizenship. Let's use our citizenship to make sure that our communities are where we want them to be. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.